Wow, what a great turnout. I can't believe all the names that were being posted. I'm glad you're not going around having everyone introduce themselves. That would take a whole day of your conference. It was also fun to see names of a lot of familiar names and a lot of old friends. And I say that lovingly. If I'm old, you're old. Um, First, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity just to be even a brief part of your Kansas Home Visiting Conference. Um, the more we know about each other and what's available, the better we can serve the whole family without duplication of effort. So thank you for helping us break out of our silo in the adult world. Work programs are nothing new in Kansas, as every state is required to have a work program for cash assistance and one for food assistance, employment, and training. For our eligibility staff, assisting the client on employment tended to take a back burner because obviously emphasis went to maintaining and deciding their eligibility. As a piece of that eligibility, individuals had to make 20 job contacts a week and then receive mostly cookie cutter approaches to assessment and service provision. So for example, everyone had to participate in a couple week-long job club, maybe another 2-week program, regardless of their job history or skill set. So in about 2011 or 2012, we changed the name to employment services, not work programs. And staff are now full-time career navigators, not case managers. We have dedicated staff providing intensive case management tailored to meet the individual's needs. And these changes were intentional to reflect a change in philosophy, not only for our clients, but more importantly, for staff. Trying to go to the next slide.
Jaryl, you're not displaying anything.
I'm not?
No.
No, we actually can't see your screen yet.
That's what you get for having me in charge.
Do you want me to try to share?
Yeah, would you? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So you were just looking at me?
Yeah.
That's boring.
Let me know if you see it.
I see it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. I even did this before we started to be ready for it.
Right now we can see the PowerPoint view, but not the presentation view, if that's helpful.
Yes, the PowerPoint. Oh, hold on. Let me put it into slideshow. Thank you. Now it's on the wrong slide.
I think if you select up at the top, select display settings, you should be able to flip-flop your screen. Jaryl and I were testing this out earlier.
Yeah, I had to do that.
There we go.
All right. Woohoo!
Well, that's teamwork. You have probably heard that now the Department for Children and Families has 6 regions with approximately 90 career navigators in the various employment programs. For example, out west, one individual covers 3 or 4 service centers. So they have a lot on their plate. Next slide, please. We believe that all clients have strengths, and sometimes they have the best solutions themselves. Regarding that, we had all of our staff participate in strength-based training. We want to focus on their success, starting where they're at. And even though time on cash is limited, becoming self-sufficient is a process. It's just not an act. And contrary to public perception, most of our individuals are embarrassed to come through our doors, but they do because they have reached that point. Many thought they would never need the assistance that we can provide. So they deserve our respect. Next slide. Thank you. In order to receive our federal funds for cash assistance, the state must meet work participation rates based on federally defined countable components. So for example, if you're an adult working on a GED or high school diploma, that does not count as a primary work activity. We could, and perhaps in the past, the agency was criticized for sticking people in any job just to meet our outcomes, not theirs. But under employment services, we believe that if we focused on the client rather than the participation rate, the rate will take care of itself. And fortunately, we've met both of our families, all families, and two-parent work participation rates since 2014. Now, we'll see what these past 7 months has done to us regarding if we can maintain that success or not. We do help clients look at a career path, and many are in short-term trainings in high-demand occupations. Truck driving or welding, for example, CNA, CMA, up to an RN. We've even worked with some training institutions and business to meet their local needs. As you know, warehousing is huge in Kansas City metro area. And so a couple years ago, we worked with Johnson County Community College, and they developed a training where the individual would be certified in warehousing. They'd be OSHA certified, forklift, anything that was required for those jobs. The ultimate goal is a living wage with advancement opportunities. For example, the TANF participant in May was hired with the United States Postal Service for 43 hours a week at $18.15 an hour. And I have to turn my page. Change and skip 5 and 6, please. Yes, referrals. We'll take referrals from anyone, the client walking in the door, a call, or an email. Cash and food assistance recipients are provided program information by eligibility staff at the time of application or renewal. However, they receive a lot of information at that time, and sometimes they're just not ready, especially in our volunteer programs. We've had individuals where we've offered the program, they've turned it down, and then a few months later they come back to us and say, you know, now I think I'm ready. Our career navigator makes contact, they review a self-assessment, and together they develop a self-sufficiency agreement. Next slide, please. Next one. Thanks. You have the basic eligibility requirements for temporary assistance to needy families before you. Recipients on cash assistance are required or they're mandatory to work with employment services. But I'd really like to jump to that last bullet. There is a federal time limit of 60 months for someone to receive TANF, lifetime. Over the recent years, Kansas has gone from 46 months to 32 months, and currently we're at 24 months. We do have extenuating circumstances where someone can receive 12 additional months or up to 36 months. Let me tell you, COVID is an extenuating circumstance. Once someone is working and making enough that their TANF closes, they may receive up to 12 months of transitional services. Think about it as a job retention service. So we just don't help people get a job. We also work with them for an additional year. We have staff who will call them once a month and say, how's it going? And we had an example where, like in month 3 of work, the person said, I love my job, it's going well, but I think my brakes are going out. And we're like, well, we can help you with that. So our job retention and the number of people coming back on cash assistance within 12 months has really plummeted. Now, and she's probably ready, I'd like to turn it over to Becki to talk about our other 2 employment programs.
I have to do double duty and remember to click at the same time. So our other 2 employment services programs are tied to the SNAP program, or, oh, and it's not, there it goes. And some of us may know SNAP. If you've been around for a while, it's been referred to as the food assistance program, the food stamp program. But like cash assistance, this program is income and resource based when we are determining initial eligibility. And we do have 2 employment services programs that are voluntary. We offer, they can work with us if they want to, they're not required. The one thing about this is if they receive food assistance, it's almost like our employment service programs for those are hidden, but we don't want them to be hidden anymore. We want to be deliberate in sharing the information, and not just with individuals who may benefit, but from community partners, resources, employers. It could just be an individual who might know someone who would benefit from from these programs. We just need to be able to get the information out there. And so, like I said, we have 2 programs for our food assistance recipients. And the main difference between these 2 programs is one is geared towards families and one is for single individuals, someone who has no children. So the goals program is the one geared towards families, and the eligibility factors are pretty simple for both. For goals, are you receiving food assistance but not receiving cash assistance, or in that 12-month period where we can provide those services to those cash recipients? So right after they close TANF, they're not eligible for that. Do you have a child in the home who is under the age of 18 or 18 and in school? And are you yourself 18 or older? If you are, you qualify. It doesn't matter if you're already employed. You might be underemployed. You might be only working and underemployed. You could be working 20 hours, but you want a better job. You want a job that's full-time, a career that can support your family and you don't have to rely on other things. You can still qualify. We will help with that situation. Then we also have the other program, which is the ENT, or Employment and Training. You hear us refer to it a lot as ENT. And the difference with this one is, are you a SNAP recipient with no dependent child on your food assistance case? Are you 18? If so, you can qualify. And when we say on your food assistance case, you might be responsible for a child. You could be a divorced parent, 50-50 custody, but the other parent has the child and is receiving food assistance for them. You are the only one on your food assistance case. You can qualify for services under this employment and training program because you do not have a dependent child on your case. Either way, for the most part, the one thing we want to get out there is if somebody wants services and is a food assistance recipient, we have a program that we can help them, be it the mandatory TANF program or either of these volunteer programs. It doesn't matter if you're 50, if you're 65, if you're 20, if you have a short-term disability. You could have a long-term disability, but you want to work in some fashion. You need help going to school because you need some retraining due to some circumstances beyond your control. Any of those, we can help with that if you are a recipient and you want these services, which is where we get to my favorite part. And unfortunately, we don't have enough time to go into the support services, but one of the things that we can do in any of these 3 programs, we have some element of supportive service that we can provide. And they are somewhat similar, but there are a few little differences in between. So like TANF, the mandatory one, that's our most robust support service program that we have availability, that we can offer services to, as well as provide money to the client, like for gas money. We can do that in the TANF mandatory program. The goals volunteer program for the families, it's very similar in the caps, the services we can provide to TANF, with the one exception that we cannot issue money directly to the client. So any support service we provide, we have to pay to a third-party vendor for that program. And then for the employment and training program, which is the single individual, we can provide money directly to that individual, but there are caps. There are certain amounts that we cannot exceed per month due to the funding of that program. So the caps are lower and some of the services are a little bit more restrictive, but overall, we can help with transportation issues depending on your program. That could be a car repair, that could be help with brakes, or an unexpected alternator goes out. We can help with clothing, anywhere from if they need appropriate job searching clothing, they need some shoes, they've gotten a job, they need PPE, they need steel-toed boots. It could even be as they might need some undergarments because they don't have those. We also have helped with hygiene products, as they may not have those readily available. We do one time with that to help with those as well. We have done bikes, we've done helmets. Anything we can tie to employability, we can somehow help them with. A lunchbox, the ice pack for a lunchbox, an alarm clock, a watch. That there are just so many options there that I can go on and on and on, and we can problem solve. We could talk about these forever. The other big piece, not just employment related, but I talked about training, and this goes through all three programs, that if someone needs a short-term training, they want to enhance their skills, or they just need to start someplace, like with a Microsoft class, or they want to be a welder, a welding class, we can help with tuitions, we can help with fees, we can help with books, all tied to that depending on the program they're going into. And like I said, I can go on forever. And if you would like a more detailed presentation to talk about the multitude of services available, because we're only scratching the surface of what we can help individuals with, just let us know. I'm more than happy to go on and on and on about this program in general. But I know we don't have, I don't have all the time to do that for you. I'll take up somebody else's time. But one of the other things that we also wanted to touch briefly on, not only do we have those three programs available in our employment services, but we also have what are called employment service regional resource coordinators. And we have 7 of these individuals across the state. And they are like a support for our career navigators. Jaryl mentioned there are 90 plus career navigators that we have providing this service. These 7 individuals are the support, because our career navigators sometimes don't have the capacity to problem solve within the community to see what's out there. So if we have an individual who says, I really, really, really want to be a phlebotomist, but I don't know where I can find a class at. So our regional resource coordinator in that area would do the legwork to research the programs that are available out there. What are the requirements? Do they have to meet certain specs? What do they need to have in place? Do that kind of legwork, and then we can provide this information to the client to help them. A client might need help with a bed because their bed broke, or they don't have one. They got a new place. They finally moved out of a homeless shelter and they have their own place, but they don't have a bed. Our regional resource coordinator might go out and go a deep dive into the community to see who might be able to provide that support to the individual. That's one aspect. They also work on the other side with the employers. What are employers' needs in that area? Do we need to develop a specialized training? Because we have a whole labor market we can tap into. So they also do employment liaise between the employer and us, and what their needs are, and in the community to see how we can best get a bang for buck as to what the needs are. How can we meet them? Can we help you meet them? Do we do something specialized? Or even if we have an individual, vice versa. I really want to work as a welder. We might, our regional resource coordinator might go out and see what is available in the community for that type of job skill and help and prep the individual to be prepared for an interview in that avenue. We also have done in-house hiring events where the employers will come on site to do hiring events in our facility for individuals that we serve that come in. They might even get a job interview. We've had individuals, for example, in the Wichita area, they do a huge one on a regular basis. Unfortunately, right now to COVID, we're not doing our in-person events at this time, but we've had individuals hired on the spot down at the Wichita office from employers. And they've had as many, I think, Jaryl may have to correct me, but I think at one time we had like 10 employers on site, and they hired several that walked in and did interviews. We've also done the same thing with the resource aspect, where we've done resource fairs within our service centers and brought in 20 to 25 community partners just to share their information, not only with our employees, but as well their employees. People can just walk through, anyone from the community, clients, individuals, just to get information about what services are out there. So we try to be the best community partner we can, and we're always trying to improve and provide additional services. But that in a nutshell is what our regional resource coordinators do. Again, I can go on about a variety of things, but I will let Jaryl take over at this point.
Finally. Just touching on the services that are available, we even have relocation. We can help somebody relocate if they have a valid job offer to another. We've helped people even go out of state to a valid job. The 2 greatest needs that we see across the programs, obviously, not telling you anything, are transportation assistance and childcare. We're working with the same families and we all have the same challenges that we're trying to overcome. I tell people that employment services, we have the best jobs in the agency because we get to see the end result. We get to see people grow throughout their program and get a job. That look on their face when they do get a car. Yes, we can do that, but it's the last resort. We get to see the success in those little steps, and then ultimately getting jobs that the best news is when they're making more than we are. We love to share, if you can't tell, what we do. So if you'd like either of us to come to a unit meeting, we'd more than be willing to do that. Coffee gets me about anywhere across the state. So this commercial break was brought to you by Employment Services. Thanks again for this opportunity. We know that they have an exciting and interesting rest of the afternoon planned for you, and have a great finish tomorrow of your virtual conference. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Jaryl and Becki. We really appreciate your time today. We did have a couple of questions come through in the chat. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to share those with you.
Sure.
I think you touched on this a little bit, but just in case Mary missed it, she asked if you provide transportation to your office for these different types of assistance.
Do we provide transportation to our office?
That's correct.
Yes. Again, depending on the program, but we do bus passes if buses are available. But yes, absolutely. If we're asking them to participate in an assessment or anything like that, we sure do. Becki, I don't know if you want to add anything more to that.
Well, I just want to clarify, like when we say we provide transportation to our office, we won't go out and get the client and bring them to the office, but we can provide them funds to secure their own transportation, if that helps. And on a side note, I don't know how I completely forgot the childcare. Each of those 3 programs we talked about, we can write childcare plans for that will not have a cost, that should not have an out-of-pocket cost for the individual. I say should not, it may, but it should not.
Excellent. Thank you. That's very helpful. We also had a question about those who are raising grandchildren. So grandparents who are raising grandchildren, and they might not have all the documentation they need to get them services. So this person was wondering how they can get assistance if they don't have all the documents they need for their grandchildren.
Go ahead, Beck.
So it depends on what program they're referring to. If they're trying to apply for the cash program, when it comes to like they may have their grandchildren in the home under caretaker cash, they do get a reasonable opportunity period to provide that information. And depending on what agencies are involved with them, they will try to help them secure those documents that they need. It all depends on circumstances, so it's hard to say. Now, if we have an individual that they might be eligible for our services and they've lost their ID or they need a birth certificate, we can assist with the funds in order to obtain that verification.
We also try to make individuals aware of what they need before they even come to the office, so that they don't get there and then we say, oh, sorry, you needed this piece of information or verification.
Wonderful. Thank you both. Just a couple more questions here in the chat. Brittany asked, where can we find the contact information for the regional resource coordinators?
Hit me up and I can get that.
Excellent. So email Becki and she'll get that in your hands. Christina asked about, have you had any luck with Swahili people trying to find jobs? So those who speak Swahili.
I can't speak directly to Swahili, but we have a large refugee population, obviously in the triangle of Liberal, Dodge, and Garden City, as well as around Kansas City. And we have some counselors or career navigators who specialize in serving refugees. But we try to overcome those barriers. We have a language line, and we try to make their information accessible in the format that's appropriate to them. What we're finding though is we have some individuals come in and they they don't read or even write their own language. And so for us to put English in front of them is futile. But yes, I would say comfortably we do have success with refugee populations.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, just a couple more questions here. Angelina asked, do you still have to work 20 hours to receive SNAP?
The 20,
Go ahead.
no, I'll let you do this one.
Well, there again, it depends on number in the home. You know, each program has a certain minimum number to meet. And then if there's 2 people in the home, that adds hours, or one can help cover for the other one. But yes, there are a certain number of hours to be met, and that's determined by our career navigators. And that's why we said, depending on what that activity is, it might be countable or not, based on federal definitions.
And I'm going to piggyback on him and say the 20 hours, if it's a food assistance only case and you have a single individual, that to go beyond the 3 months out of a 3-year period, that individual has to be working 20 hours per week. And if they are not working 20 hours per week to go beyond that 3 months, if they're involved in an approved training program, the required number of hours, they would also qualify to go beyond those 3 months. And our program does meet those requirements to get them beyond that 3-month period.
Great, thank you. That's very helpful. Okay, just 2 more questions here in the chat that I can see. Maria asked, if a child is a U.S. citizen but the parents are not, can they receive services?
The individual, the parent would not be available or to get services, but the children would. Is that correct, Becki?
Correct.
I have to ask the expert.
Excellent, thank you. And last question that I see in the chat is from Rita. Rita asked, are men eligible for any of these programs if they do not have children in the home?
Our biggest population for the employment and training program, or the ENT program, is the male population, because that's usually who we see receive food assistance on their own behalf. A lot of individuals, maybe early release or pre-release from institutions. We have some in halfway houses, homeless shelters, and they're jumping. Once they have, the word is spreading amongst them in certain areas, like, if you want help, go down here, because they will help you.
Excellent, thank you so much. Those are all the questions I see in the chat. Thank you so much, Jaryl and Becki, for your time today. This incredible information and resources, we really, really appreciate it.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to transition now to our breakout room. So if you are attending effective home visiting practices during a pandemic, you will just stay put. If you are attending Connections to Substance Use Disorder Treatment, Krista's posted that link in the chat. And if you are attending the Word Gap session, Krista has posted that link in the chat as well. So give us just a minute to fire up those second 2 sessions. If you click that link and it shows that it hasn't started yet, I'm transitioning there as well. So we'll see you there in just a few minutes, and then we'll get going. Enjoy your breakouts, and we'll see you back tomorrow for the last day of the Home Visiting Conference. Thanks so much, everybody.